Hello everyone, my name is Harmon Colvette. Today we are going to be going over the Colab units, and specifically we're going to start with D1.1, which is a one-cell amygdala salivation model. First thing we want to do with any Colab is to go to runtime and then hit run all. Once we do that, the first time you do it, you're going to see a box that comes up that says this Colab is not authored by Google. That's okay, you want to hit run anyway. And then at the bottom, you'll see how it's executing. It's just going to go through the whole thing. And while that's running, we'll talk about the unit. Our goal here, we're going to manipulate some sliders in order to change some firing rates. This is why it's so important that the students have a good understanding of what hertz are, because they're going to be looking at these graphs here and they're going to need to be able to quickly see, oh, if it's 5 spikes over 1 second, 5 divided by 1 is 5 hertz. But here are the steps. You can cover this with your class, very straightforward. And just kind of talks about what they're about to see. Here's this picture of a neuron that we've seen a couple times over the slides and why it's so important that they understand it. Then next we have a video here. If this is assigned as homework, this is a very good video to watch on their own time. If this is as a group, if they still need any refining about conditioning, this is a good video to help out with that. But once that's all covered, we get into the challenge. Our challenge is to get 5 hertz. And you'll see down here, here's our one cell model, and this is an action potential. Great way to remind them this is our spiking. We want to change these sliders here. And if we change them, we should see a change in the graph. It does take a couple seconds. We see a change in the graph here, and our goal is to get a graph that looks like this. We see these 5 action potentials over a little less than a second, so that's 5 hertz. That's the firing rate we're shooting for. And then a very good way to know if a student's done it, you can ask them, hey, what are your 3 numbers? What are your 3 parameters right here? And these 3 parameters are their solution to the problem. Should be straightforward, should be pretty easy. A lot of trial and error. Uh, what happens a couple times if you change things a little too fast, sometimes it might have some issues. If that's the case, you can just hit this white play button up here. It refreshes everything and it should take a second, but it will get things going back again. It will start over. It's kind of like refreshing the whole page. But so now we're on to the feeder circuit where, unlike on this model, we are looking for 5 hertz. On this one, we're looking for 7, which just jumping to the solution here. Again, sometimes it's slow and sometimes you have to refresh. Once we hit show feeder, we can see we have these 7 spikes, less than a second. So that means 7 divided by 1, we get that 7 hertz firing rate. That's your goal for the students. And again, you can ask them for these 3 numbers. That is the goal to show that they've done on their own. One interesting side note, if you want to see the code, this is where all of it is. Anything that's in green is commented out, so that's not being read, but everything else is what creates these models. Something interesting to show students, but they're not expecting in any way to know what all that means. All that matters to them is understanding that as they manipulate the strength of the tone, and then you can do the delay and duration, that's going to change the resulting fire rate in the cell model. That's the big goal, and that's the big takeaway. And how for fear, we're shooting for 7 hertz, and for salivation, we're shooting for 5 hertz, which is not that. It's around 0.35, 34, something like that. But that's the goal. Sometimes it can be a little finicky. The biggest thing is just don't change it off very quickly. Just change it once, let it load, see where you are, see what you want to change, and then just go slowly and methodically through. Don't rush it too much because that's going to cause problems. And then it should be pretty straightforward.